Aloha folks, and welcome to today's video. This morning I was poking around online and I noticed in one of the gardening groups that I'm in, someone was asking about what they could spray their fig tree with to prevent it from flowering because it was attracting rats. What would you do if you had a fig tree that was doing its normal thing and thus attracting rats? Would you want to spray it with some sort of a chemical to prevent that tree from blooming? Or maybe it doesn't prevent it from blooming because my own parents have plum trees, and they were telling me that they were considering doing something similarly, that it wouldn't actually stop the tree from blooming, but it would make the flowers sterile so that it wouldn't actually produce any fruit. They didn't do it because of the rats. They did it because they considered doing it. As far as I know, my parents didn't actually spray their plum trees. They were considering doing it because, not because of rats, but because the plums would attract so many birds and the birds would peck at them and the fruit would fly everywhere. They said that their walkway looked like a battlefield. It was covered in bird poo, and there would be these red stains everywhere because the plums are very deeply and richly pigmented. Then it would stain the cement. And all I can think of when I said that was, man, I want that deep pigmentation in my organs. Yeah, yum. So why did that really come up to me? I was wondering why did that impact my mind? Well, it impacted me enough to want to share a video because last night my roommate was asking me if I was experiencing any allergies, and I really don't experience a lot of allergies anymore. At least what I experience, I don't consider them to be allergies. Not anymore. And here are my thoughts. If you spray a plant with some sort of a chemical, where does that chemical go? Well, it goes into the plant, or it coats the outside. And it stays there. Many chemicals are very sticky, especially these types of things. Like, I wouldn't call it a pesticide because it's obviously not a pesticide, but pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, and these pollination limiting or restricting chemicals, they all behave in a somewhat similar fashion in the sense that they're very sticky. You spray them once and they're designed to stay or stick with that plant so that they remain effective. So there's a sticky aspect to it. So you spray it once and that chemical compound stays there. It goes into or on or completely coats and covers the plant, and it changes it so that it doesn't behave in its natural way. So let's say you or anybody spray the plum trees like my parents were intending, and that tree does bloom and it produces pollen, even though the pollen is sterile. Okay? And the wind blows, and you and I, we breathe in that sterile pollen. It's not normal pollen. And our body knows that. Our body knows that. We breathe that sterile pollen in, and our body doesn't like that chemical. I'm sure the plant doesn't like it either. And perhaps it's things like this that trigger allergies. There are pesticides being sprayed on plants all the time. There are fungicides, herbicides being sprayed on plants all the time over the entire globe. The entire globe uses it in farming, they use it in gardening, they use it in landscaping. The US is probably one of the worst in terms of landscaping, just because other countries don't do beatification exactly the way that we do. And many countries don't have the wealth to be able to have the same type of beatification that we do. And part of what we do is we want the plants that we want, not all these other plants that seem to be native and natural, especially here in Las Vegas. And so we spray our plants with all these poisons. They might be mild, but they are poison nonetheless. And just because in a laboratory, with our eyeballs looking through computers, we can't detect any noticeable difference in terms of a human affectation of these minute compounds, that doesn't mean we don't feel the effects in subtle ways. If you're spraying all the plants everywhere, and the wind, which is just one giant ecosystem, all the wind in the entire world eventually goes around. And you're breathing all that in. You're breathing all the dust in. The dust is coated with what we put into the air. So when the wind blows, all that pesticide that people put on their landscape, in the yards, so that only the plants that they wanted will grow, there wasn't enough poison to kill the pine tree. Maybe it was just enough poison to kill the dandelion. But now that pine tree's saturated in just enough poison where it won't be noticeable to the human eye looking through a computer at that pine tree. But the human nose knows. Thank you.